don't think I'll ever go home again.
Saltburn is a 2023 black comedy psychological thriller. Written, directed, and produced by Emerald Fennell. It stars Barry Keoghan, Jacob Elordi, and Rosamund Pike. The story's set in England in the early 2000s, where it follows a young university student who becomes infatuated with his wealthy schoolmate, who invites him to spend the summer with his eccentric family at their estate.
My parents, they've got problems.
What do you mean problems?
I don't think I'll ever go home again.
Well, why don't you come home with me? Come to Saltburn.
So I gotta be honest, I went into this completely blind. I hadn't seen a trailer, knew nothing about it. The only thing I had heard is that it was a psychological thriller. And I love psychological thrillers. I prefer ones that lean more into the horror, like psychological horror. I love those because I love horror so much, but most psychological thrillers I at least enjoy. And I gotta preface this by saying this is definitely not the one that leans more towards the horror. This is a psychological thriller. It really isn't very horror. There is some stuff towards the end that leans a little bit into that, but for the most part, don't go into this expecting to see a horror movie, because if you do, you might be disappointed. But for a lot of this movie, I wasn't sure this was even going to be a psychological thriller. I was really kind of skeptical going, what am I watching? Because it very much feels like a melodrama about, you know, these different personalities and anxiety and you know, coming of youth, and there's a lot of humor, a lot of dark humor that I thought was really funny, and especially as it gets into it, the dark humor gets more and more present, and there's a lot of disturbing things, but not necessarily disturbing visuals, but just disturbing undertones and ideas. But it's a comfortable movie that just kind of feels relaxing, and like you're just kind of in for the ride watching this rich family that's a little bit weird and quirky and eccentric, and it's well shot. It looks beautiful. Like the way this movie is shot, the cinematography is just gorgeous. It takes place at this huge estate, and it's just opulent and just, you know, full of wealth. It's just what you picture when you think of like this huge estate in England. But it doesn't really make you that uncomfortable. You're just kind of chilling. Then things start to happen. I think probably about the halfway point, you start to just get these little tiny bits and pieces of uncomfortability. Little bits and pieces of things that you're going, okay, things are not as they appear. This is going to get a little more twisted than it seems. And you just kind of go down this rabbit hole, and it gets more and more and more uncomfortable, more and more twisted, and just to a point where by the final act, this movie goes for it. And it actually gets pretty wild with some scenes that I know are not going to be for everyone. Very artsy. You know, you gotta be okay with nudity. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to go into detail on what you see, but you got to be okay with nudity because it has this artsy feel to it. But it's a really well done movie. I had a blast with it, like in the way that you enjoy psychological thrillers, because I just didn't expect it to take the twist that it did. And it's got a lot of uniqueness in the way that it unfolds, in the way that this whole story happens, because it doesn't really feel like you're watching anything like that for a long part of it. And I think that's great because it really gives you a chance to learn who all these characters are, and it gives you this false sense of security, of that you feel like you know everyone, you kind of feel like you know what's the situation here, and then it just takes a dark twist. Now, I heard beforehand that it did take some twists, so I thought maybe it was going to go more into the horror side, and it doesn't. It's very much, like I said, psychological. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't involve supernatural. It doesn't involve werewolves. It doesn't do anything like that. This is real people and this kind of twisted scenario that unfolds. But with that being said, it is very uncomfortable. I mean, I found myself really squirming in my seat, but also just laughing out loud at some of the gruesome, macabre humor, as well as just weird situations where you're not sure how to feel. Like, you don't know if you should be going, ugh, that's gross, or laughing, or cringing. Like, it's got a lot of layers to it, and I think it's fantastic in that regard. And I really think the acting is incredible in this, especially Barry Keoghan. He has a lot to carry in this, even though his side characters are all fantastic and do great jobs at the roles that they're playing. There's a lot of layers to his character, and especially in the beginning when you think you see him in one way and then he just kind of evolves into something else, and then other things happen, and he just kind of throughout this movie becomes multiple different kind of versions of himself as things happen around him. And he does an incredible job of making that feel believable and making you really sucked into this whole situation and caring about what happens to him as well as others around him. Like I said, it's a well-acted film across the board, but it's very artsy and quirky and uncomfortable. It's a very A24 kind of movie. So if you're into artsy, quirky, independent film that definitely, is slow burn at times, and it isn't, something that's super exciting, at least for a lot of this film. If you're into that kind of thing, then I think you should absolutely check this out, because I was really pleasantly surprised on how much I enjoyed this movie. I didn't go into this with any intentions on doing a review of it. I actually was just going to see it because there's nothing else going on, and I just wanted to get out of the house, wanted to go see a movie, planned to see something that wasn't really channel related so that I could just kind of let my hair down, even though I don't have any hair, and not really worry about working, not really worry about making a video on it. I just wanted to kind of watch something that was a little different. But here we go, it ended up being close enough to horror. It's like horror adjacent that I felt I could cover it on this channel. I thought a lot of you guys would probably really appreciate this movie and really have a good time with it, especially if the things that I'm saying sound like things that you're into. But if you're a diehard horror fan and gotta have that gruesome qualities, the gore, the scares, that kind of thing, this is probably something you're not going to be that into, because it really isn't a horror movie. This is, one of those mind bender psychological thrillers that keeps you guessing and kind of has this reveal at the end, so to speak, where you're like, oh wow, okay, this is what I've been watching this whole time. It's one of those kind of movies. But I think it's well written, well executed, well directed. I really look forward to seeing what Emerald Fennell does in the future, because I had never heard of him prior to this, and this movie was really impressive, especially when you talk about the technical side of filmmaking, just the way that it's paced, the way the characters are developed, and you really get connected to them. There's a lot of drama to this movie as well, where it feels, like there's a lot of these personalities, that are shifting around and how they interact with each other. It's pretty complicated in that regard, and I think it's super, super well executed in that way. But I think this is a fantastic, artsy, creative little movie, and I'm really excited and happy that I went and saw it. It is in limited theaters right now, so if you're looking for something that sounds like this and wanting to just get out of the house, go see an indie movie, this is a great choice.
What have you done? I just thought that maybe I could help.
You're not leaving us. You're not leaving Saltburn.
But that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week, I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys absolutely mean the world to me. And if you would like to help support this channel, there's a link down in the description for Patreon, or if you want to become a channel member and help support the channel that way, there's a button right down there that says join. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember guys, horror can be fun! If you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me review Thanksgiving. And I'll see you guys next time!